become a nightmare to me. I cannot stop thinking about it because I'm like, what is your mind on right now? Like, what is your mind on? You are our poster boy, our
Man, we have to stop calling him a boy.
our guy. Like I'm not even talking about the money. I'm talking about in terms of what you mean to the football club. We get to our first final and you drop one of the worst performances on the pitch. You don't have any endeavor. You can't get past your man. You're not shooting. You're not putting anybody on your back. And I just feel like Eze not being there put a big spotlight on him because I think Eze has been playing well. I think Saka has been poor the whole time, but we can find underlying metrics to kind of make it look like I think he's having a poor season. And without Eze, the spotlight was on him to be the guy. And he looked so funny under the lights. I get that he's gotten injured, but to put in that performance with the armband, and the thing is like,
in a cup final,
we expect more from you because you're not an outsider. You're one of us, So
I'm just expecting competency from you, Saka. And a number of them attackers, like take your man and have some shots.
It was borderline unprofessional, the performance that he put in. Like, it wasn't even decent. It was not as bad technically as the Leverkusen performance away, but it was fucking terrible. And when your captain is doing that, you're more than your captain, your main player, your your main. What do you expect everyone else to do? Like, you're supposed to set the standard. We would do that with anybody that has the armband. We do it with Odegaard. We do it with Gabriel when he has So it was poor, but I still, I feel like our problems around the attack are bigger than Saka. I think
bigger than just one player. It's with a gaffer.
Yeah, I think this season basically proved, something that, I said before and I got crucified for, and I'll say it again because I feel like if Saka is your best attacker, your attack is not that good. I think Saka is a top player, but he can't lead you. He can't lead you or put it on your back to win things. He can be your best out of a bad bunch, but he's not going to be the type that's going to pull you over the line because he hasn't.
Different makers, man.
Yeah, I just think you need more because where Saka is like super well-rounded and super intelligent and can play at a high level, he's not a KDB, Salah. Like, he's not those players. I think we're in the point now where we can say like he's probably not going to be that. So what you can't do is have a Gyökeres and a Trossard next to him.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't have
limited players. And we don't play to their limitations. Like, me and you have this conversation all the time. We can see Gyökeres ain't the most technically gifted player, but you've got a limited service-reliant striker, and you don't service him. Like you said with Saka, we know Saka's been getting doubled up against, isolated, isn't doing the business. Looks like there's some declining physically, probably second-guessing himself and all of that. You've got Kai, who isn't everyone's cup of tea. I think is a good tool in the toolbox, but isn't actually, on top of everything we know about Kai, isn't fully fit. Him and Gyökeres' relationship was building. We kind of went cold. And as you said at the beginning, whether it's Martinelli or Trossard, it's like different dog, same shit. All of these players have to pull their acts together. But then Arteta, you have to hold accountability, because if the collective bunch is failing, then that is on you. And then on that, there is no guarantee that if you go and get a prime Ronaldinho or a prime Cristiano Ronaldo, Salah, Kevin De Bruyne, or whatever the hell Jess said, there's no guarantee. Like in the summer when everyone was gassed about Eze and Gyökeres, which you were right to be, you don't just slap them on the pitch and it works. In the same way, I actually think you could take the shittest defenders in the Prem and probably put them in our defense and they won't look as bad. Why? Because there's a defensive ethos. There's clearly been a lot of homework. At the end of the day, defense wins titles. I do think we have a title winning defense. Obviously, we ain't done that yet. Goals win games. And it's mad because we've got 100 odd goals, but we still don't look convincing. And it's that age-old thing just that we hit ourselves over there, didn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think the overall team is good enough to win the league. Because you're not going to have to play Man City every week. But the more I think about the idea that we could win cups, it becomes more laughable, because where defense wins you titles, I think attacks win you trophies like cups.
And you got to be brave, especially when you go into the latter stage of the champs.
And they need to be able to They need to be able to create something out of absolutely nothing. I think the best teams that do well in cup competitions, like Real Madrid, it's never about their patterns and they give up goals,
It's the
but
moment.
their attackers just have the moments. And I think that's where we're not going to win the Champions League or any other cup doing what we do now, because we just don't have it. And I think, like, again, as soon as they said Eze wasn't going to be there, I thought we're so fucked, because he's the only player that could literally just get the ball at the top of the box and make something
It's a bit
happen.
of individual brilliance. I thought him,
Yeah.
Timber, and probably Odegaard on the Monday, I thought they'd be there, but like, I ain't
Yeah.
physio.
It was bad, so yeah, it's a tough one. It's not that I'm saying that I think Saka is a top player, but I think the best attackers are the ones that you can task with getting you over the line in tough moments and can create things on their own and look really good, even in the toughest of scenarios, like finals and semifinals. And I don't think he really has I don't really think he has that in his locker right now. Maybe it's the injuries, but
Are you worried about him? Just like
yeah,
are
I
you
am.
worried like about his physicalness?
Yeah,
Because he played a lot of games. Has he declined? Like,
I am.
where you at? Because it's like what Ryan's saying here. People need to understand that Saka is not the player we once thought he was. Is like, where you at with that?
I think I am worried about Saka, but
We all are.
you know what it is? It's because it's almost like confirmation bias of what we were thinking two years ago. He's being overplayed. He's being overplayed. He's being overplayed. And the thing about Arteta and the club, I'll say the club in particular, is they put us into situations, and then because things unravel, then they're like, well, see, that's why Saka has to play all the time, because we don't have this. Well, why don't we have this? Stop, you get what I'm saying? Like, why don't we have this?
100%, because people
They
get amnesia, just like
Yeah,
like you said, because you're bang on, you've been bang on the money. You see, like on Sunday, yeah, people will sit there and it's like they develop amnesia and they're, oh my god, like they're like, oh my god, we need this and that. That's why this and that. Who built it? In the same way, I'm not even here to do the agenda thing, but in the same way I praise the good about the gaffer, it's not like you've just taken the job and rocked up here and you're kind of having to utilize things. And like, the wickedest thing is, I don't think any of these attackers in isolation are bad players. It's just when you group them all together, they're underperforming anyways. The gaffer's tactics in the attack or the handbrake isn't making them do what they need to do, kind of piggybacks into midfield. We don't really have different solutions. So we end up here. And I agree with you, Jess. I do think we're paying for our sins of overplaying Saka previously. But I do back him though, man. I do back him. You do get that from me, in that you're gonna have to hold licks for this year, but it is one poor year. But this is the issue with it. Like, we knew this was coming, and it doesn't make it any more disappointing.
yeah.
Like you said, with
We
the
should have
confirmation
had
bias.
an Eze type player, or Madueke. We should have had these players 2 years ago, when it was already like, damn, these couple players, because people forget that it wasn't the 22-23 season. It was the 21-22 season in which Saka and Ben White and Odegaard had started playing all together. So it's like 4 years of them getting ripped and being the only players, like
And
the
no
players that
solution to
play
that trio or those
every
relations.
game, and I'm just like, every single game. And every year we got better. So then we're in European competition. So I'm not surprised that they look like this, but we haven't been able to really rely on those players, and players that are stepping in. We should have had those players, but that we have to play Saka every single game, because we don't have a backup. Why don't we have a backup? Now look at him. He doesn't look anywhere near what he should look like. But, I will say that I do have my doubts about Saka being the type of player that we can just be a Salah for us, be a KDB for us, because I don't
It's weird
think
because
your
it's
physical
24, man.
level 100%, like, because even before that, when he was fully fit, there were times where he didn't look good in semifinals and quarterfinals and stuff like that. I think he needs a group of players around him that are at his level, and he
We
doesn't
need
have
a
that.
group of players. Like,
Yeah,
fuck that. Just we need a group of players,
yeah.
man.
I'm
Like,
like,
because if
Gyökeres,
anything, we believe more in our defenders, and then at our push in
they're
midfield.
our best
Like,
players
we
by
don't
far.
really bet on the attackers to get us through it. We're
No,
sitting there
they're
saying, yo, you
terrible.
know what? You can't really break us down. It's not, we might stink up the gaff. You get us a couple goals, nick it, we're gone. And as
No.
you said at the beginning, you need that if you're going through to the latter stages, definitely in Europe, definitely in a cup final.
Yeah.
And
And I
there's 7 games left in the Premier League.
yeah, I
So
think also um with like Gyökeres in particular, this is not even agenda. And I think people have really leaned into agenda when it comes to Gyökeres because
I think a lot of
they
people in
want him to
on
work
both
so
sides.
bad because they really don't like Kai or, whatever. But as somebody that deeply wanted him at the club and thought he was a good player, I genuinely believe that he's nowhere near the level that we need. And I mean, watching him against decent players is really hard. Even when he's playing good, it still doesn't feel like I'm watching a top player, and
That's what I said, Jess, in that for me, you just have to accept Gyökeres. He's an ugly footballer. He's never going to be the most prettiest. But take a limited player and just put him in positions where obviously we can minimize his limitations and maximize his strengths, which is, as we've probably seen in his career at Arsenal, scoring those ugly goals like against Everton, exception against Spurs because it was a good finish. But this is what I mean. Like, and I'm not going to lie, I did feel sorry for Gyökeres because I can't accuse you of not turning up on Sunday. Like, you're being surrounded by blue. As much as I agree with everything Jesse's saying, yeah, it makes me even more kind of look at the gaffer because he's being surrounded by a bag of blue shirts. He's winning first and second balls when it was losing them, but when he does win them, you're not involved. And then also it goes back to what you're saying just about the other attackers, because Haaland is obviously the best striker on the pitch, but Haaland didn't have anything to do. We know 9 times out of 10 strikers are cancelled out in today's day and age in the Premier League. So then I'm looking at my wide men, in which, yes, you man need to do better off your own back before I look at the gaffer. But then 2, there needs to be a bit more bravery. There needs to be a plan other than let's stay compact, let's hold our shape, which is why I blame ultimately everything good or bad is on the gaffer, but also the players, because defensively in the first half, you lot suffered where you needed to and then fell off a cliff. So then it leads me to ask you, just like, before I get into that actually, somebody asked you, what are you saying for Saka as a false 9? Get your questions in, folks, as well, man.
No.
Why are you not on it?
The way he's shooting right now?
Yeah, but he's lost his mobility. Maybe he's closer to goal.
I get it. I get it. I think just right now, like, I can't imagine him in the false 9 position.
Got time for that at this point in the season.
You know what also is kind of like the thing about putting, the ideas about putting Saka more central is the coach would have to allow our team to play passes through the middle of the pitch. Even when Saka moved to the 10, they still would not pass it to him between the lines. And I'm like, one of our, it's like it's not going to make a difference if we're not willing to take the risks at all. And if
That's
he's
how I
going to
feel
play,
with Raya starting in hindsight. Like,
yeah,
Arteta central regions were struggling. People are
yeah,
onto Zubimendi. We'll get onto that, but people are pissing me off. They're onto Zubimendi now. Granted, Zubimendi's in a bit of a poor moment, admittedly. But you look at it, the man, and I'm not saying this is why he's been poor, but he's played a lot of football. You look at the vast majority of his Arsenal career this season, he's been up here. Obviously, if you've been riding a high momentum of form, there's gonna be the other side. And then obviously, you look at him in Spain, like I'm sure you saw it on X. The minute we went out, people were like, oh, look at Zubimendi for Spain. And that told me 2 things. 1, the Spanish system is to play centrally. 2, Zubimendi can have, or any player can have, all the ability they want on the ball. Football is about sending messages. You need movement, you need runners, which is why you saw Kepa standing on the ball for 5 minutes. Saliba and Gabriel, what are we doing here? Let's go down the left, let's go down the right. There's a reluctance to break central regions. And until that happens, Jess, me and you are going to be sitting there saying the same things. And it's annoying because we're still in with a fight. But like, what do you make of Zubimendi? Not just in the final, the whole temperature around him, because I feel out of the content creators, you're the only safe space. Because we both love Zubi, innit? Like, to the point where you probably get on your platform, me the same, saying we make excuses for the guy, which we both said we like him, but we needed the next one as well, which Norgal's not being used.
Yeah, I think Zubi, I just wonder what the conversations are like, because it feels as though he has a lot more ability than he's showing, which is a worry to me. I just think that Zubi can do so much more than what we see him doing on the ball. And we've actually seen it for Arsenal, not just Spain. And his performances and the way that he's been playing has just kind of fallen off of a cliff. I wonder if that's overplay. Maybe it's a little bit of the better teams. You know, when we come up against the better teams, he struggles. But I wonder if it would be better to have him a little bit higher and Declan a little bit deeper, because Declan seems a little bit more comfortable right now staying near the center backs and sweeping up. And Zubimendi's best moments for Arsenal have actually come in higher positions where he's kind of popped up in and around the box and, you know, can play interesting passes and take shots and stuff. So I just wonder if there could be like a little tweak between them. But, you know, Zubi has had a hot and cold season, but I do think he's incredibly talented. I think also consider the messenger for people that are saying that they do not like Zubimendi. I think some of them are just obsessed with the person that he's replaced, you know, there. But Zubi is not either too scared to play those passes, or he's been told not to play those passes, not to take risks. And it's more difficult for me to accept something when I know they can do it rather than them not having the ability. You know, I can't get mad at somebody if they don't have the ability to do those things, because it's like, well, you can't do those things. But we know Zubi can play more, you know, line splitting passes. We know he can find players in between the lines. We know he can pop up with the ball and carry it. We saw it against Leverkusen. You know, it's like his performance against Leverkusen to the final were like night and day. So Zubi, it sucks, you know, it really does, because it's like all the way up until about December, I thought he was one of our best players, and he's fallen off of the proverbial cliff. But, you know, the way that we play and the way that everybody's risk averse and the way that everyone looks shell shocked at times and nobody's really taking, the only players that take risks are our left back, because Arteta will allow a Calafiori to get on the ball and do something, and Dowman, because he hasn't played for Mikel long
When he
enough.
goes out there, let's go out there, just have fun, young man. And even I'll
Yeah.
push Timber when he's running into the final third. But like, people need to, and I'm not blaming the gaffer, Jess, but Zubimendi's got all the ability in the world. Granted, you know, the only things I will attribute to Zubimendi is I don't think he's ready to play. City's not one of them, but like them British games that are up and down and there's a lot of space. The only things with Zubimendi, I just expect him to be press resistant on the ball, our eyes and ears. He will make those mistakes. United comes to mind, Spurs comes to mind, but like Zubi's got all the ability in the world. We're asking why you're not passing the ball forward. I know Eze, the temperature's changed a bit with Eze, but we were saying that we've had those about Odegaard, we've had them about Bakayo. So it's got to be something deeper than just these players, in which on one hand they have to take and accept criticism, but again it's all on the gaffer in the same way with what we praise him about. Like, it's just annoying, Jess, man. I can't lie to you, Jess, as well. Yeah, Declan Rice. Like, again, because I don't think it's fair to just mention Zubi. We went into the final. Obviously, Rice is captain, fantastic. I don't think anyone can attribute blame to Rice other than everybody was poor. But like, was you expecting to see a bit more from Declan in anything?
I mean, yeah, I think I was expecting way more from everyone. I don't think anyone outside of Saliba played near their best. Everyone, like even Gabriel, I think wasn't as good as he usually is.
Yeah.
He was less bad than, you know, the when you go up, that's the performances get worse and worse.
But you know why that is, Jets, as well with Gabriel? The way you're setting up, they're clearly trying to force him, they're trying to drag him out to the left-hand side, which they accomplish, which is why you're right with Gabriel. But Gaffer, you fucked it up.
Yeah, Mikel just froze. And you know what? I'll say this to, you know, and I've been saying this for a minute. Mikel, one of the things that give me the ick with him the most is the fact that he has such like a thing with City that will never overcome this City thing with him as our manager, because it feels like he has too much respect for them because his closeness to them. It really annoys me. We don't score against them. We don't. Like, and I know somebody be like, we beat them 5-1. They had to be so bad for us to just play against them and whoop them. Most games when we play against them, we don't score. If we do, we get one goal. You know, we don't play well against them at all, whether they're good or bad, whether they're in bad moments or whatever. Think about the game at the Emirates earlier on this season. They were as poor as they've ever been. And at least for this season, and they still came to our place and got a draw because we respect them too much. And I think it's because of Mikel.
Could say that with Liverpool as well.
Pep is in his fucking head. And it drives me nuts because it's like this. I get that City are a good team, so you're not going to always beat them or whatever, but it's too much respect. It's too much respect. And I think
defense has been a shambles. They never had their key players. Diaz and He weren't there. Like, it's a big disappointment not to ask real questions.
It is. And you just never really see Arsenal play free and with confidence against City. It's always a chess match. We're always super like, oh, like, you know, I know people will say, well, if we lost, it wouldn't matter. I genuinely would have preferred to see us go for it and not
in a final, 100%.
Then do what the fuck we do. Every time we play them, if we lose or draw, it feels like we didn't even try to play.
We're reactive against City.
Scared. It just, I hate it.
We're very reactive against them. Like the 5-1, I can't discredit it because you beat them 5-1, but we capitalized on some mistakes. The game at the Emirates, as you said, we fucked up defensively, and then they were a bit scared. They just camped in their own half. Clearly, we smelt blood in that regards. We were proactive from the start, granted, in the final, but then we was reactive. And you know what? For the manager and the players, when the first goal went in, I did see heads drop, which whether I've liked you lot this season or not, I have to accuse you of such. So then it leads me to ask you then, Jeff, it's a weird one, and it's kind of cheating a bit with what JT's saying here. Yeah, it's like, do you think losing the final is going to have any implications psychologically, or has tipped the balance either for City or Arsenal in that regards? And also a bit of a double-edged question, like, because I can bring this question on screen. Who do you think is more likely to win all their remaining games, us or City, excluding the Etihad game?
I mean, I think the worst part about that game was knowing that it was going to give them confidence. I don't know what it's going to do to Arsenal, though. Because City getting more confidence means that they could go through the rest of the games and win them all. They have the capabilities of winning all of their...
We did say this when they won at Anfield, though.
We did say that, but they had not beaten us head to head. It's a completely different thing.
True.
Going to Anfield and beating them, that's cool, but you're not... This is more direct psychological warfare. It's 8 games to go. They have one in hand, and they have to play us. And we're not good. Like, we don't play well against them. Full stop. We do not play well against them. We cannot we just are terrible. So in their minds, they probably are thinking we're basically 3 points behind them. We know we're going to beat them at the Etihad, and we'll win that game in hand. So, I think for them, that's the perfect scenario for them. Is they can chase down a team that's been shaky, and they've directly, hurt us, so that's tough. But what it'll do to us, I don't know, because we could compartmentalize it. I like that everybody pulled out of international duty. I think
for once.
Apart
from Saka and Rice, but can't have everything. Shout out White for getting a call up as well, by the way.
So if we can compartmentalize it, we can win the rest of our games and, maybe draw at City, but
nervous, man.
We are nervous.
We can win our remaining 7, well, 6 excluding City.
Well, 2 of our more difficult games, I feel like we got out of the way because we talked about this. We talked about Brighton and we talked about Everton, and we won both of those games. So, Bournemouth is a tricky one, but we're at home.
Focusing on the Prem, folks, if anyone don't know.
Newcastle at home should be winning that. Fulham at home. A lot of home games, the main one.
Yeah. This makes me nervous.
Yeah, of course it
This is the most important 2 days. 10 days. This makes me the most nervous.
Yeah, of course.
I'm actually not that nervous about this one.
But when you look at those games, you should be seeing wins, especially like you playing against Crystal Palace and Fulham in particular. To me, they won't be playing for anything at that point because neither
we hope so.
West
Ham fighting for their lives, of course.
But West Ham and Burnley, but we should be winning these games. If we're looking at these games and we're super nervous, it's just because we know that this team can drop their level down to the ground if they want to. So it's they could either be looking at this like, look at this schedule. if we had not just lost that final, I think most people would look at that like a lot of people
True.
were thinking we had already won it. It's that final, and that's the mentality. Either you allow that final to make you look at games against Fulham and West Ham and Burnley like the toughest games of your life, or you're still thinking the exact same thing you were thinking before that this is totally in our hands. The only really hard game that we're looking at is that City game. And as long as you don't lose, you will be okay. And I know it's like, if you don't win, don't lose. We're not going to beat them at their place. Just don't lose. So
Bournemouth
yeah.
makes me nervous. Bournemouth makes me nervous, but we should be winning if we want to win the league. Newcastle, I know they're going to bring their A game regardless of their current form, but we should be winning that. Fulham, we should be beating them, but bogey kind of team. Crystal Palace, hopefully both teams' seasons are done in the sense that Palace, whatever you've achieved, you've achieved. We've obviously wrapped it up. West Ham and Burnley, teams that are fighting relegation, fighting for their lives. You always kind of look at it a bit weird. I do want to ask you, and it's nice to ask another Arsenal fan this, Jess, in that I know you're not going to, I kind of know how you're going to answer this because I know how I would, but do you think there's too much ground for City